So you know how I cut the AVGN movie into like a fan cut it down? Sometimes it's fun to do one of these fan cuts. I hear that Steven Soderbergh has asked for permission from his friends from time to time if he can like do recuts of their movies, which I think
wow.
Yeah, just a filmmaker's filmmaker kind of thing to do. Also, you might get a kick out of this. I have a coworker who lived in Singapore at one point early in his life, and it was around the time that Pulp Fiction came out. And he was like, and the thing about Pulp Fiction in Singapore is, and I was like, oh, it was too violent and they didn't want to show it or something. He was like, no. They thought that the movie was fucked up and broken by not being in order. And so they cut it up and they reordered it. And so the Singapore theatrical version of Pulp Fiction was linear.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Because they were like,
that is interesting.
I'm not showing you this. In this fucked up manner.
You fucked it up, Quentin.
Maybe I didn't make it for you, Singapore.
People are having fun seeing. Maybe not you, but you know what, Jan? I don't think I made it for you.
Because it's fun, Singapore.
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it.
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it.
So I did another fan cut. In seasons 20 and 21 of South Park, which admittedly are not South Park's best seasons, right? I think 22 is Tegrity Farms. So this is pre-Tegrity Farms. But you'll remember that season 20 was, I think, the first and only time that they tried to have a story like where every single episode was serialized. Season 19 had like a through line, but it was still episodic. Season 20 was the first time they tried to string together a narrative that from start to finish, and it didn't work. And part of the reason it didn't work was because Trump got elected in the middle of it and they weren't expecting that and all this. But in both of those seasons, something is happening. Cartman gets a girlfriend named Heidi Turner, who ironically, she in a much earlier episode, like season 7 or something, Follow That Egg is the episode. The kids have to have an egg and have a partner in school and have to take care of the egg. His partner is Heidi Turner. And I was like, no fucking way.
Heidi, you'll be with Eric.
Because he would go on to ruin this girl's life. If you don't remember, season 20, the story was that there was a troll in South Park. Somebody was going online at nighttime and was trolling the girls in particular, calling them nasty names and being terrible and being crude and stuff. And so the girls at the school sporting events were taking a knee, you know, a la Colin Kaepernick, until the troll is found. Everybody assumed it must be Cartman. Cartman was doing things that made it suspicious. The boys took him out way out in the woods. They baited him with pizza and we're all going to go play Fortnite in the woods. And they destroyed all of his technology, like a hit. You know, they were like, let's just get it done with. And the joke in those early episodes was that if you quit social media, if you're not online, you're dead. And so Heidi had gotten trolled and she quit Twitter. And so it's like she committed suicide. They're having seminars at the school about it. They're talking to parents about it. She quit Twitter. And Cartman now is the other dead kid in the school. And these two lost souls, I'm telling you, it's the deepest South Park story you've ever seen. It's remarkably good. And it's a shame because it's hidden and masked by like a meta story about Kyle's dad being the troll that's really just not that interesting. This thing with Cartman and this romantic relationship though is really, really good. So they kind of find each other broken, and Cartman is being pretty honest with the girl, and he's pretty vulnerable, and he feels betrayed by his friends, and she feels lost too, and they become kind of gross with each other where they're infatuated. And eventually kind of he tells the first lie, which is like he had said that girls can't be, because Ghostbusters 2016 was coming out at the time. And he said that girls can't be funny. And he had said this online and he has to hide that from her. So, you know, he tells his first lie, and that kind of starts to unravel this thing that they have because now he's hiding the dishonesty. So it goes on the whole season. And then into season 21, they're still together. And by this point, Cartman has revealed his entirely true self. He's telling the guys that Heidi is abusive to him, that she's going to make him kill himself. He tries to start a campaign at school for suicide awareness just to manipulate her and ruin her life, about how he's going to kill himself. He's doing a rap song about how he's going to kill himself. Every time, you know, it's like so heartbreaking, but so funny. Every time she like walks up to him, is like, hey babe, he's like, and she's like, what's going on? What are you up to? Nothing, just hanging out with the guys, if that's okay.
Oh God, this reminds me of high school.
Hey babe, what's up?
Oh, hey babe, what's going on?
What are you doing?
Nothing, I'm just having fun with my friends. Is that okay?
Or he's dressed up as the Coon. They were all playing Coon and Friends, and she's like, hey, the episode had nothing to do with her, and she just walks up and she goes, hey babe. What are you doing? Nothing, just having super sweet superhero stuff right now. Leave me alone. Or there's another episode where they're meant to go to the Halloween party and she like can't get ready. She keeps tweaking her outfit and he's like, yes, babe, you look fine, babe. Anyway, it's some of the best shit. And then Kyle just about talks her out of it. You know, she's ready to break up with Cartman. Kyle actually likes her. And the girls start to mock Heidi relentlessly for having been with Cartman in the first place. The analogy at the time is sort of like mocking somebody relentlessly for voting for Trump, where it's like, well, that's just going to make them double down. And actually, Cartman is successful at turning her into like an anti-Semite.
My heritage is Irish, so I'm prone to being moody, and your heritage, well, you know. You can be a little sneaky sometimes and not even realize it.
And she starts gaining weight and she starts not going to the science fair she was supposed to go to. And she starts acting a lot like him. And they start like physically fighting these two fat asses that, you know, there's a great moment where Mr. Mackey is like, she's basically Cartman, except she can follow through. She's kind of conscientious.
She's kind of like Cartman, but with the ability to follow through. Oh, dude.
By the end of that 21st season, there's an episode where they're trying to hunt down Mr. Garrison, you know, who's the Trump allegory. He's somewhere in the woods and they're trying to fight. It's supposed to be like a parody of It. And they find the old cabin where Cartman's technology was destroyed. And they find where Heidi first quit Twitter. It's really nicely done. And finally, like, she kind of comes to her senses and he's like, I'm going to do it, Heidi. I'm going to fucking kill myself. And she's like, that's up to you. And, you know, it kind of all wraps up. You know, it's been now, I guess, 7 seasons since then. And Heidi Turner has not returned. I think that's a shame because there's so much there. Since then, Cartman and his mom have had some complex stuff happen. Cartman's mom tried to be a realtor in one episode and Cartman, like, couldn't have it. He's like, I cannot have my mom have a job. So he like competes against her in real estate and it like really breaks her heart in a way that you never see from Cartman's mom. So you can see like the women in his life, he is just a cancer to.
Fine, Eric! Will you stop all this if I quit my job?
And you won't get any other job?
Yeah, there's like at one point in the season, he's calling her on the phone every morning, just, you know, blubbering and crying about, you know, please don't leave me. And
You can't just keep being mean to me and blaming it on your blood sugar.
But it's true, Heidi. Mom!
Yes, hon?
You fucked up my life, Mom! Fuck you!
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about these guys. They always try to find some new angle.
I'm like, that's some really good character development. Or, you know, Cartman finds out that Kyle drove her away from him and Cartman has a fucking meltdown. He's like, Kyle!
Huh?
Kyle with he's like a giant Ursula type character. He's got like a menorah. So anyway, but the thing is as good as all that was, it was embedded in all these other plots and it was lost in my opinion. So I was like, could I edit the Heidi Turner story into a movie? And what I learned was Heidi and Cartman end up doing things that are related to the other plots. And so it would just be like disembodied scenes. And so if you actually want to cut it together to be a story, you have to incorporate them to some degree, but you can kind of cut those down to their bare essentials. That's what I did. So season 20 kind of has a beginning, middle, and end. And so I made one movie that's like an hour and a half or hour 40, I think, of just the Heidi stuff and anything that's supplemental to it. Like there's some, you know, you get to learn about the troll with Kyle's dad and stuff, but generally it tries to put them at focus. It's kind of like doing like the Hobbit cut where it was like, make the story around Bilbo. And then season 21, I think, is even stronger, where that's really about the way that the relationship develops from there. But it was fun. I actually did it with Gloria. She kind of sat with me the whole time we were figuring out like, oh, we like need this piece for this to make sense. Oh, that comes up later. And
yeah, what Steven Soderbergh is doing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, actually. It was, it was like a storytelling challenge. Can I take these raw ingredients and make a cake out of it, So South Park season 20, the movie, the Heidi Turner movie. I hope I would really like if Heidi Turner came back. She's great.
You got to send that to me because I kind of dipped out of South Park during those seasons. So watching it even without the context of the season might be interesting.
We came across, there was, the episode, I don't know if you remember, Overlogging. It's like a Grapes of Wrath parody where they don't have internet. The internet goes out across the whole world. And, the joke ends up being that it's a giant Linksys router that runs the whole internet.
Yeah. Is that why they're going California way or whatever?
Yeah, we're going California way. Yeah, exactly.
We'll head out California way and see what we can find.
But what's funny is the whole joke was that internet is non-essential. You should be able to live without it. It's just that you're addicted to it. That really was the joke. The episode does not work now. It's the joke is not funny. Because in reality, if the whole internet went down, it really would cause a severe financial depression. The show depicts that sarcastically. When no, actually, that's what life and safety systems would be down. I mean, it would be the economy would collapse, right? And the other thing too, I think that came out in 2006. The iPhone came out in 2007. So nobody is on their mobile device. The whole episode, everybody's on desktops and laptops.
Some of these are just time capsules. You know?
Yeah. No, really. I mean, I think you'd watch this and be like, this doesn't make any sense. Whereas, I got to I got to go to Drudge Report and I got to look at my cat memes. I'm like, that's not really the internet anymore.
We can't check Drudge Report. There's no internet. All right, time's up. No, wait, I just clicked on the kitty. I got it.
I mean, yeah, it's still funny because it's South Park, but the most famous scene from that is when Randy comes all over himself.
Right,
yeah.
Of course.
But it actually doesn't work. The joke doesn't make sense. It would be that dramatic if the internet went down. We do depend on it that heavily. But there is no centralized internet.
It's a series of tubes.
The internet is not a big truck. The internet is a series of tubes.
Where is a spot somewhere in our network architecture in the United States that would take down the most amount of network? Some aggregate for I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe like a nice solar flare could take something out.
You could target like a major CDN, like a Cloudflare or something like that, where a major AWS outage or something where it hosts a tremendous number of applications. I saw Zoom went down yesterday for quite a while, and I found out it was because somebody fucked up the domain registration for Zoom.us.
Oh,
They're renewing the domain registration and fucked it up. It probably costs real fucking money. Millions of dollars? Yeah, probably. Maybe. Yeah. Kind of crazy. This is why the old people don't like it.
That's what I was thinking about, like that Daredevil episode where like the power goes out in all of New York City or whatever. I'm like, how many people would have died from that?
Yeah, the first thing you think of with that is like hospital generators. Okay, how do we keep hospitals up? And I think about how many hospital systems are fully dependent on IP networks where like you have to have networking up. To this day, I think like IP systems are not super resilient. You can fuck up a domain registration and the whole application. All right, man. Well, Cannibal the Musical retrospective.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it.
I've seen it. It's amazing. I think this is your finest YouTube work. I think it's like masterful. I think it's like it takes all your knowledge and puts it into one video, like of what you've learned throughout the years. And I think it's like Dan Smith does the music, and I thought that like adds a premium feeling to it. And obviously, I mean, I love the subject. I mean, I also rented Cannibal the Musical. I think it was one of the first things I rented from Netflix. It was like 2004. I think I rented that and like Napoleon Dynamite to bring it back to. Yeah, and I loved it, and I was singing Spadoinkle. I was one of those people who was pushing our theater department to do a production. We never did.
Somebody did it at UMass Dartmouth, and I left halfway through. I was like, this is terrible. It was just clear that it was just like fans trying to do it. It was the same group that always does Rocky Horror every year. I was like, stick to the Shadowcasts. But I was in the Emerson one, and I mean, the advantage of that was they have performing arts students who had a musical theater program. Of course, I wasn't a musical theater kid, but I was a fan, and so I was able to squeeze my way in. I played the character that doesn't sing, but they actually ended up having me sing a couple of songs, like in the groups.
Now just some food, some warmth. That's all I'm asking for. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah, it was the longest I've worked on a project since one of my movies, since one of the feature films. It took 5 months. And one of the hardest things about it was to write it in the first place, because where do you start? There's so much to say, and there's so much to source, and there's
so many special features.
I just kind of started with, I actually just watched the movie. I popped in the movie. Actually, I popped it in on VHS. And as I was going through it, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah, of course. Because it started with like, I was going to do a podcast clip about the new Blu-rays. And then it was Dan who was like, why don't you just make a big video about that? And I was like, that's a good idea. And then I got stuck in production hell for the next 5 months of trying to get this thing done. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to synthesize. I mean, when there's like, I think 7 commentary tracks and all of those have tidbits of information. And so just trying to aggregate all of it and incorporate it into the story you're trying to tell, trying to make it personal, but not so personal that it's like, it should be accessible to anybody who watches. There's a big trauma component to the whole thing, but trauma didn't make this movie. So you don't want to overdo the trauma aspect to it, but it's inseparable. And then there's 2 Blu-rays, and then there's all the technical details about what went into the Blu-ray transfers. And that's kind of difficult to describe to broad audiences. But I thought interesting.
I mean, the crux of it being, those 2 releases and how they are both not perfect.
There's still no like perfect version of the movie. So I made one, the Spredoinkle cut. The ultimate version would be Refuse Films visuals with Vinegar Syndrome sound. In fact, that's what you've been watching when I've been showing parts of the movie. Yeah, there's a part of the video where I compare the audio, and I think if you're not wearing headphones, you probably can't tell the difference. But if you're wearing headphones, you should be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, I was actually wearing studio headphones, and I was watching it at work while I was doing other things. And during that section, I actually had to rewind it and actually listen. You can tell a little bit of a difference.
Do you think I could just talk with Lucky Larry? Sure. I'm going to meet a group of them now. Swell. Do you think I could just talk with Lucky Larry? Sure. I'm going to meet a group of them now. Swell.
Yeah, it's minor.
When I was not putting my whole attention to it, I wouldn't have noticed. But then when I did, you could, oh yeah, there is a little room here. There's a little more separation of the instruments. But yeah.
I glossed over one aspect of it because I just simply couldn't figure it out. But I think Refuse Films had a Betacam SP master of the movie. And that, I believe, was already color corrected from the Avid from the 90s, because the editors of the movie color corrected that movie. It wasn't Trauma or something like that did it later. It was the guy who plays the priest is the editor of the movie. So I think they had a tape master that already had the color correction. And I think that Vinegar Syndrome had a digibeta, which is a different format that probably would have been the EDL, all the editing decisions, but prior to color correction. So I think they took the digibeta and up-res that, because otherwise the color correction is too consistent with previous releases. It's got to be that version. That's my theory. But instead, what I just talked, I was like, they took a tape. They took a tape master and then they up-resed it, and that's really the only important piece. Also, I ran it by, just to make sure I wasn't getting anything terribly wrong, one of the producers of the Refuse Films, because I know him. In the video, towards the end, I said, it would have been really nice if they could have included this clip or that video, or there's some other stuff online that would have been cool to have on the Blu-ray. And he was like, we tried to put all that stuff on the Blu-ray, but Matt and Trey wouldn't let us. And I was like, really? How does that work exactly? And he was like, well, anything that goes on the disc goes through Jason McHugh, who was the producer of the movie. And Jason is the one that's in contact with Trey and Matt. And there's a lot of stuff they didn't want on there, like the Shatterproof deleted scene as an example. They never wanted to officially release that because Trey doesn't like it.
Lots of people have been asking, like, what happened to that scene? Why didn't you bring it back? Why don't you release it in the bonus material? Trey's never wanted to release that because Shatterproof is like a techno song. It's like this, and it doesn't really fit with the Americana musical vibe. So he still kind of kept that buried.
And I was like, but they don't own the movie. Trauma owns the movie. He's like, yeah, but Michael Hers, the business partner in the relationship with Lloyd Kaufman, he's very sensitive about let's not piss off Matt and Trey with our distribution of this film.
Wow.
Let's keep a good relationship with Matt and Trey. So that's why. I was worried too about copyright, obviously, but it passed. Generally speaking, Trauma has been super cool about copyright stuff over the years. So hopefully that remains the case. I had clips from Orgasmo and Basketball and Team America. And so I don't mean to sound gauche. I think it's the best video about Cannibal the Musical on YouTube.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be.
Cinema Snob, he did one some years ago. I think that was one of the more popular kind of YouTuber videos about Cannibal. My hope is that our fans will share it with Blu-ray forums and Blu-ray Reddits, and because there was quite a bit of, from the fan community, a lot of talk about these releases, and probably a lot of people never got their hands on one, or they're interested in the VHS or whatever, and this covers it. I mean, this will get you where you're going. That's my content nuke, my content cop.
Oh, when you guys are talking about all these people, iDubbbz, I missed all of these people. I think I was trying to get into grad school or something. I was not paying attention.
I don't think I ever watched iDubbbz. I was aware of him because I did watch H3 at one time. 2016 or something. But I don't know them all either. I mean, a lot of times when they get into their drama with one another, it's like Primcat saw Destiny at the sex party, but that was before the kick event that Hornswoggle was at. And I'm like, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah, they're using all their handles. It's like, why doesn't everyone have Christian names around here?
Whatever happened to Jason Graves. P. Tier Griffin. Peter Griffin.
My name? P. Tier Griffin. Yeah, Peter Griffin. Oh, crap.